Have you ever looked back at a choice you made 5 years ago and just cringed? Maybe it was a relationship you handled poorly, a business move you missed, or just the way you used to treat yourself. That, how could I have been so stupid? Feeling is one of the heaviest weights we carry. We punish ourselves for not having the wisdom of a 40-year-old when we were 20. We expect ourselves to be experts when we were just beginners. But there is a phrase that changes the game. It gives you permission to be human while demanding that you grow. It's the ultimate roadmap for a life well lived. Do the best you can until you know better. Then, when you know better, do better. The reason most of us are stuck, the reason we feel so much anxiety, is that we've flipped this quote upside down. We try to know better before we do anything. We think we need the perfect plan and the perfect knowledge before we take a single step. We stay in the waiting room of life because we're afraid that if we do our best right now, it won't be good enough. But here's the reality. Your best is a moving target. What you consider your best today will look completely different 2 years from now. If you didn't give yourself permission to do the messy best on day one, you'd never make it to the mastery of year 5. Do the best you can isn't an excuse to be lazy. It's actually a very high bar. It means taking the tools you currently have, the knowledge you possess right now, and the energy you have today, and putting it all on the table. It means showing up with total integrity, even if your current toolkit only has a hammer and a rusty screwdriver. We look at experts and think, I could never do that. But we forget that their current best was built on 1,000 days of doing a much worse version of the same thing. You cannot improve on a blank page. You cannot fix a car that isn't running. Here is the secret. Doing is the only way to know better. You can read every book about swimming, but you won't know better until you're in the water feeling the current. Experience is the only teacher that actually changes your DNA. The knowing better part happens in the middle of the mess. It happens when you make a mistake and realize, oh, that didn't work. This is where the grace comes in. You didn't know then what you know now. You literally couldn't have known. You had to go through the doing to get to the knowing. Once that light bulb goes off, once you finally know better, that's where the real work begins. This is where you trade old habits for new ones. This is where you take the lesson and apply it to the next day. Doing better isn't about being perfect. It's about upgrading. It's about saying, that version of me handled things that way. But I've learned something since then. And because I've grown, I have a responsibility to act differently. This removes the guilt. You don't have to hate your old self. You can look at that younger version of you with compassion and say, you did the best you could with what you knew. I'll take it from here. When you live by this rule, you find a freedom most people never touch. You stop living in a state of paralysis because you realize you don't have to be right. You just have to be present. You stop living in regret because your past mistakes were just the tuition you paid for your current wisdom. The benefit is a life of continuous improvement. Small upgrades in how you think, work, and love, stacked over years, create a life that is unrecognizable compared to where you started. You become someone who isn't afraid of the future because you know that no matter what happens, you will do your best. You will learn, and then you will do better. So take the pressure off. Look at the challenge in front of you, the one you've been avoiding because you're afraid of doing it wrong. Do the best you can with what you have right now. Trust the process. Trust that the knowledge will come through the action, not before it. And when that light finally clicks on, don't look back in shame. Look forward in strength. And then do better